Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to grow your glutes. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Grown and Healthy, the channel where we explore self-improvement through movement. Glutes are a big deal these days, like the new and hot superfood, but a body part instead. In this video, I will show you the easiest way to build your glutes and improve your health with no equipment required. Now, when you want glute inspiration, there are no better examples than sprinters. They're chiseled frames with bulging muscles and definitely well-developed glutes. And that is just a result of the biomechanics of the sport. You see, it is the mechanics that are developing the strongest and best developed glutes. This is why sprinters all have phenomenal glute development. Now, most sprinters rarely lift heavy weight, and most find that conventional lifts actually slow them down and reduce their explosiveness. Now, why would that be? How do the fastest athletes with the strongest glutes, according to their performance, get worse under a heavy strength training regimen? Maybe it has to do with the range of motion. Oh, but weightlifters are strict about depth. That wasn't a full rep. It never is it? Do you think a back squat captures the full range of motion of the glutes? That just standing from a seated position is exhibiting a full range of motion? Do you think that an athlete's trailing leg in a sprint is that high from momentum? No, this is actual glute contraction. So it seems that the back squat maybe is the true half rep, at least when it comes to building the glutes through its full range of motion. Not to mention the lack of transference from the squat to the track. For most, when loaded heavy, slows them down, and it actually makes them perform worse with more chances of injuries. And when performed right, it is usually in only concentric movements and avoiding the eccentric portion and staying within a light load. Well, what is the range of motion that you need to build your glutes? Well, understand this. Glute contraction from your standing point begins when the foot passes the midline of the anterior and the posterior of the body. So basically, placing one leg on an elevated surface and engage the floating leg by engaging the glutes. You may have to point your toes down and back to feel the true engagement. It should put your leg in somewhat of an arch. Most people will be unable to engage this, and that would be a significant problem. And that is why we see a lot of dysfunctional movement, pain, and undersized glutes. This would be the equivalent of leaving your front deltoid out of the motion of an uppercut. But I know you love your back squats, and studies show that it is the greatest exercise for glute development. And because you're able to load weight up to hundreds of pounds, you would think that the development would be even greater. But how effectively are you training a muscle if you've never engaged the muscle in full contraction? It's kind of like doing a half of a bicep curl. Not to mention the load. A sprinter can exhibit power up to 8 times their body weight. And I don't know of anyone lifting 8 times their body weight currently, and not even close naturally. Now, of course, you're probably not developing the impact force of 8 times your body weight, right? When you're sprinting, and that's even if you can sprint at all. Nothing against you, but most people have little to no functional ability to even sprint. Aches and pains from inactivity, a lot of sitting, have given us little practice at the full range of motion needed for sprinting. And so we should look to take a step back. At least the average person is putting 4 to 5 times their body weight into the ground each step. No other training modality is more accessible for you to build your glutes other than the high load and full range of motion of sprinting. It is truly the total body workout. Even more accessible than sprinting is walking, especially the way that I demonstrate to walk, with a forefoot pattern. which elicits the sprint mechanics, but at a lower intensity. Just consider this. Have you ever tried walking uphill? You'll know that it burns your glutes. That is because of the range of motion and that forefoot strike combination. It mimics the movement of a sprint. A few seconds in at a good pace going uphill, and you can easily feel the check engine light about to come on. By opening up the hips, as I showed you in the previous video, you'll also allow for the full contraction of the glutes. And you can do this with every step of walking forefoot. I've built my glutes mostly from walking. I rarely perform a bilateral squat. If I do perform a squat, it is in a split squat variation, of course, with walking lunges being the favorite. If you don't have a good understanding of walking forefoot, you may think that it would only develop the calves, but that's not true. It engages your hip musculature primarily, which are the hips and the glutes. Developing proper gait mechanics comes from mastering the swivel of the hips, not from pushing off on your calves. Not to mention that proper mechanics also allows the tibialis anterior muscle to contribute. Most people are going to perform a shallow squat, landing on the heel and never engaging proper contraction. Any form of gait movement that uses heel strike inhibits glute contraction. Sprinting, jogging, or walking, if you're landing on the heel, you will never fully follow through with enough glute strength in order to kick off. Imagine the development of your legs if those 8,000 steps a day were contributed to a proper contraction of your glutes. If you're going to start, you're going to need a primer for building your mind-muscle connection to the glutes. So let's get a cushion at least 3 inches off the ground when you compact it, and maybe even as high as 12 inches if you find yourself to be very stiff. First, we'll start by warming up with some butterflies. Try using a little momentum and gravity to bring your knees closer to the ground. When you start to feel a little looser, let the legs start to relax and the knees to rest down towards the ground. Now for 10 seconds, gradually squeeze your glutes while simultaneously opening up the groin, lifting it into the air. This action should have a subtle effect of bringing the knees toward the ground. Now I want you to relax into this new range and then proceed to re-engage for 10 seconds down for 3 to 4 rounds. Next, you can lay on your back and press your pelvic bone into the ground on a mat and proceed to lift one leg in the air by the contraction of solely your glute muscle and hold it for 20 seconds. Then match the time for the other leg. Avoid staggering your opposite knee or thigh for support. Push both sides of your pelvis into the ground throughout the exercise and hold that contraction as best as you can. The next exercise is the reverse plank hold with straight arms and an elongated leg arch, where you're going to now activate our glutes by holding them up for 30 seconds at a time, even engaging in raises as you develop your strength. So now that you have the basics and you've developed the mind-muscle connection, now let's take this glute development into the practical field of actually walking. Once you're trying to develop the action of the glutes, it's fairly simple. All you have to do is lift one leg off, squeeze, contract the glute, but do not drop at the ankle. This is what most people do, even with conventionally walking. They will drop one ankle, and teeter-totter. Really, they're just collapsing and catching themselves repeatedly. Instead, what we're going to do is we are going to consider pressing that foot down. Remember, we're landing on the forefoot for a reason. As we have that forefoot elevated off of the ground, you're going to contract the glute, creating this bow in the leg, this elongated arch. See, and that's just by pulling. You'll feel it in the hamstrings also, but trust me, you are developing your glutes step by step. And when you have the pattern smoothly, then you can incorporate it into the total body movement that is walking with a forefoot strike. It truly uses the total body. And it fully utilizes the lower leg musculature, focusing onto the forefoot and squeezing. That is how you can propel. And that squeeze of the glute maximus is reciprocal to the opening or the extension of the hips. And when you're doing that for 8,000 plus steps a day, that equals 2 well-developed muscles, especially your glutes. I hope you will incorporate these into your daily routine and add some oomph to your glute development. This has been Grown and Healthy, the channel where we explore self-improvement through movement.